Exhilaration starts with the Lexus 3-day summer event. Right now, take advantage of 1.0% off lease and finance rates for rates as low as 0.9% on select Lexus models. Plus, we'll reward you with event credits of $1,000 for total credits of up to $5,000. The Lexus 3-day summer event only runs until this Saturday. Don't miss your opportunity to drive home a new Lexus. Book your test drive today. Some conditions apply.
This is This Week in Geek, Episode 5, with Steve Snowball Sailor and Mike the Birdman Dodd. This episode was recorded on Wednesday, March 7th, 2007, on Niagara College's own 90.1 FM, The New Heat.
The following program is closed captioned for the thinking impaired.
And we did all that without computers.
They don't let us out much.
Do we have an intro?
Not really. This is just us ad-libbing.
Are you ready for a sexy party?
Son of Jor-El, kneel before Dodd. Or me, whichever.
If you've seen Godzilla vs. Mothra 37 times, I think I've got a show for you.
You're listening to This Week in Geek with Mike the Birdman Dodd and Steve Snowball Sailor here on 90.1 FM, The New Heat.
Hey, everybody. This is, of course, This Week in Geek. If you are out there and you're a geek and you are about upset with pumpkin bombs as we are, then I think you're on the right show. I'm, of course, Steve Snowball Sailor.
And I am Mike the Birdman Dodd, the Birdman of Niagara College.
Yeah, that's right. So, how's it going, Mike?
Oh, it's not too bad. I can't believe, folks, how utterly tired I am. We had a very late night. Yeah, we had a very late night last night. We decided to do a little bit of partying before we went to study for our midterms, and what can I say? We think we partied just a little bit too hard here.
I think we kind of did, and I don't know. Yeah, it was just too much a little bit partying. So, anyway, it's been a while since we've been in here, dude.
Yeah, it feels like it's been, at least a week, too?
Yeah, last week we were in the studio. Yeah. Recording, but we weren't actually in here in our little tiny fishbowl.
But we still did make our time slot, oddly enough.
That is true.
Because what can I say? We just don't want to let you, our audience, down.
Yeah, that's right. So what do we got up on the show today, Mike?
Well, today's topic, folks, is something that's near and dear to my ancient heart. We're going to do the rise and fall of the Saturday morning cartoon.
Ah, the Saturday morning cartoon.
And, of course, geek briefs, news, all sorts of fun stuff. Which
yeah.
I mean, come on. I mean, This is the show where we're going to give you something just a little bit extra, actually, because I've actually been researching the show for probably about 2 weeks. Actually, I just finished my last bit of research minutes before I came on the air.
That is true.
We were watching old Saturday morning cartoons. We watched a half hour of them.
Yeah, it was all old cartoon show intros, which was really cool.
Yeah, it was really. We saw the Challenge of the GoBots, the Mighty Orbots,
Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers,
Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers,
Super Mario
Brothers. Oh yeah.
Yeah, so we're gonna be talking about a lot about those today, but we're definitely gonna go obviously over some news. So do you think we should go over the news right now?
I think we should.
Alrighty, so. First item up for bits, just to let you know, for those who want to know more about the links that we talk about in the news today, or pretty much any links we mention here on the show, you can actually go to our Delicious feed, which is delicious/ThisWeekInGeek, and this week's tag is TWIG005, so if you want to check out all the news and all that stuff, it's all on there. You know where to go.
Exactly.
So anyway, first news item up for bids. There's an apartment transformed into Star Trek shrine.
I've had pretty geeky apartments. So those of you that actually lived with me or have visited my apartments when I've lived in Owen Sound, and pretty much right across this country, folks, for the last about 6-7 years, I've had shrines to Star Trek, Star Wars, but this guy, folks, puts me right to shame.
Yes, he does. Now, this guy, he lives in London, and he has a small apartment, only 500 square feet.
London, Ontario, or London, England?
London, England.
Wow.
Yeah.
Across the pond, Star Trek nerd.
Exactly. And what he did was he actually took kind of the Star Trek Voyager feel to the ship, and he basically created his own entire apartment to fit basically like a Star Trek luxury liner. That's what he really wanted. And the cool thing is when you ring his doorbell to get into his apartment, you're greeted with the voice of Captain Picard saying, "Welcome to the 24th century."
Oh, my Lord. I mean, I've seen pictures of this place, guys, and it looks like he's even got the Lacar's interface, which is that whole kind of plexiglass touchscreen stuff.
Yep.
It looks phenomenal. He's got the whole warp core conduits running up the hallways. It pulses just like it did in Voyager.
Yeah. For those who don't know what Lacar's is, It's the kind of that funky, kind of cool computer interface that you always see on Star Trek. All those fancy buttons they push.
I think it's something like Library Access Control System or something like that.
Library Computer Access and Retrieval System.
Nerd. So yeah,
I'm reading it right here. It's not. It's not like I memorized it.
Nerd. Anyway, so yeah, it's stuff. It looks really, really, really cool. Now, I'd like to picture what this guy's kitchen looks like, because I'm sorry, he doesn't have a replicator in, March 2007.
Well, I'm looking at a picture of his kitchen right now, and it kind of somewhat looks like the transporter, the transporter room in Star Trek Voyager, and it looks really, really cool.
Who wants to live in the transporter room?
No, I think it's just his kitchen, dude.
Okay, that's weird. I don't know. Personally,
that's what it looks like here.
I think I'd rather have my kitchen look kind of like sick bay, or perhaps like the galley where Neelix actually prepared the meals and had the whole
hall.
The mess hall, and have like a Starfield loop outside.
With only having 500 square feet, you can't exactly do a whole lot.
I don't know how big is 500 square feet anyway.
It's small.
Like, give me an idea. Like fishbowl small here?
No.
Or my ego small?
Yeah, it's our fishbowl's 500 square feet, dude.
Are you serious?
No.
You see, folks, this is why I'm a broadcasting student, because I suck at math.
No, I'd say it's at least the size of like a really small single-room apartment. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right, anyway, this guy's a definite nerd. He definitely is high up there on our Twig list as Ultimate Geek, and we salute him for that.
Absolutely.
Anyway, I'm going to geek out here for a second here. All right, so because our next bit of item up for news is it is definitely one for the books. I literally jumped out of my seat when I read this story. Summer Glau, who is known from Firefly fame as River Tam. She's if you ever saw Firefly, she is the crazy one. The one that's kind of messed up in the head.
Oh, she's that little cute one, right?
Yes.
Impressive.
In the show, she was actually only 17 years old, actually.
Wow.
Yeah, she was a young one. But anyway, she has just got cast in the Sarah Connor Chronicles, the new show based off of the Terminator movies. And guess what Summer Glau gets to play?
I'm guessing probably not Sarah Connor.
Nope. She's playing a female Terminator.
Wow. So she gets to step into the role that Christina Lokenson played in the TX sort of thing? Or is she going to be like an endoskeleton? Or
that's all it says here. She's going to play a female Terminator, and apparently she's in the first episode.
See, I'll be very curious, folks, to see how they actually pull this off. Simply because I'm a bit of a Terminator fanboy, and I'll just be curious to see what happens, what timeline they say. Does like Terminator 3 happen? How Skynet works into it? Basically, I'll be very curious. Honestly, I've got a lot of high hopes for the show. I hope it doesn't end up in syndication, where it basically ends up like the Adventures of Hercules and is only seen on like Saturday morning afternoon TV.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Made no sense.
You are tired.
I'm very tired, folks.
But anyway,
okay.
Well, what will they have as far as casting right now is she's also Sarah McLeod's going to also be accompanied by Owain Yeoman, who's playing another male Terminator. He's from The Nine and Kitchen Confidential, and Lena Headey, who's going to play Sarah Connor, and who plays John Connor is Thomas Dekker. So we're going to look forward to that. But yeah, I was happy to do this.
I think the show honestly set a new mark for TV series, for movies that have been adapted into TV series. And hey, I've got high hopes for it. But you know what, folks? We're going to take a little bit of a break here. So we're going to leave you with a little bit of music, and we'll be right back in about 1 minute.
Woohoo!
As soon as I hit play on the deck. Sorry, folks. I'm very tired.
Way to go, Mike.
I fumbled the ball on that one, folks.
Yeah, you did. Oh, I hear music.
In a galaxy far away.
It's Weird Al.
We'll be back, folks.
Was under an attack. And I thought me and Qui-Gon Jinn could talk the Federation into me.
Epilepsy is a neurological disorder which causes hyperactivity in the brain which causes seizures. They can appear as brief stares all the way to convulsions. What some people don't know is that epilepsy is not a disease. It isn't a physical disorder, and it isn't contagious. Epilepsy Ontario is a foundation that reassures people with epilepsy that they are not alone. Donations are being accepted in the Niagara region, and you can help by cash donations and donating your Shoppers Drug Mart points. For more information, check out epilepsyontario.org. Epilepsy, you are not alone. Ontario residents now have the chance to earn cash for their empties. Effective February 5th, a deposit will be applied to all wine, beer, and spirits containers purchased at the LCBO and Ontario wineries and distilleries. Once empty, the containers can be returned to the beer store for a full deposit refund. Residents can also continue to place their wine, beer, and spirit containers in the blue box where they will be collected and recycled at the region's recycling centre. For more information, log on to bagitback.ca. Reduce, reuse, and recycle. It's for a better future.
Hey, welcome back. This is, of course, This Week in Geek. I am Steve Snowball Sailor.
And I am Mike, the tired Birdman Dodd.
And this is, of course, 90.1 FM, the new heat.
Of course, the station you love to listen to us on. But you could be listening to us via podcast. You could be streaming the audio right now. Yep. Or you could be picking up my telepathy in your brainwaves. Because that's what I do. I'm a psychic,
Dude,
folks.
you could do that?
Dude, there are so many things I can do. One of those things I can do is show you an awesome time.
Yeah.
What can I say, folks? It's always a party on This Week in Geek.
Yeah.
But continuing right along with this party cavalcade of fun and tech news, what else we got going on, Steve?
Well, we have a really cool story, actually. Amazon and TiVo kind of team up.
Really? Explain this one to me.
Yeah. All right. So everyone knows TiVo. At least they should. For those who don't, TiVo is basically a set-top box you can set up to your TV to record TV shows and store it on the hard drive. Basically, it's your own personal digital video recorder. Replaces the VCR, basically. And Amazon has, obviously, they have a website of just a store where you can buy books, DVDs, games, pretty much anything on there. And Amazon had released back earlier this year something called Unbox. And Unbox was kind of somewhat a competitor to iTunes, where you can actually download movies and TV shows directly from Amazon. Well, TiVo and Amazon has kind of teamed up a little bit, where using your Series 2 or Series 3 TiVo, you can connect to your own Amazon account, select the movie or television show that you wish to download from the Unbox store, and select their TiVo PVRs as their download destination.
You know, that's actually kind of cool, actually. I'm kind of liking the way this kind of story's going.
Yeah, and it basically will show up on your Now Playing list on your on TiVo Central on your thing. So it's really, really cool because basically, if you sign, the cool thing is if you sign up right now as an added bonus, if users who sign up for TiVo or Amazon by April 30th, they will receive a $15 kind of gift certificate for movies and TV shows from Amazon for free.
So, folks, if you're one of our American listeners and you have TiVo, like I said, I definitely recommend you check this out. I mean, it actually sounds rather kind of cool.
Now you'll like this. Some of the shows that they actually have on Amazon for TiVo specifically are definitely, they call it today's hot television shows. They have shows like Survivor, Prison Break, Bones, My Name is Earl, a couple of the CSIs, and of course our own favorite, 24.
You're damn right. Speaking of 24, folks, did you not feel the punch in the back of the head when you were watching Jack Bauer this week?
I know. That was just wrong.
Tell me what I need to know. Oh, wait, I think I'll just use the front door. We're not going to spoil the rest of it, but let's just say, folks, you don't walk out the door that's being Rainbow Sixed. It's just not a good idea.
Now, was it you or the mythic Greg that said that they jumped the shark?
I think it was Greg, who's one of our many interesting classmates.
Yeah, he told us to call him the mythic Greg or something like that.
The mythic Greg, who actually now has a movie out on his MySpace. So we'll make sure to actually link that for him in the show notes.
Sure.
See, Greg, we offer you a service. Now help me take over the world because you know what? I need to. It's true.
Moving on.
Moving right along, folks.
All right. So iTunes 7.1 has been released. Which for those, I use iTunes. I mean, you use iTunes.
Oh,
Mike.
absolutely.
We all use iTunes, especially if you're on a Mac. It's the only thing you can use, really.
Exactly.
It's one of the best thing you can do. And they've released their kind of the latest update for iTunes. Basically, not a major advances into iTunes, but there's a few cool things. Their whole cover flow has been basically revamped to now it's in full screen mode.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah, so that's a cool cover flow. Is basically you can be able to kind of flip through your albums and you can see the album art kind of do this funky animation and you can kind of scroll back and forth and it's really cool. So that's now in full screen.
I'm actually looking forward to that because I've got like easily 13,000 songs and believe it or not, all legal.
Really?
Yeah, I have a huge CD cache up in my storage locker, basically up in Owen Sound, when I pick up my gear, I'll have all my CDs back so I can actually start mastering tracks first. But yeah, that's really neat. I mean, one of the things iTunes I like is the integration with the MacBook Pro remote control.
Yeah.
And you can do
in
it
front row.
Yeah, in front row. You make this huge, really cool presentation. Now, because I like to put up my iTunes when I host parties, just leave my kind of Mac running and, hook it up to a projector, and it just looks really, really, really neat.
Visualization mode?
Oh, I love the visualization. Almost as cool as Winamp, but Winamp had that really cool plugin called Milk Drop.
Yes.
Oh, I loved Milk Drop. Such a good plugin.
That's cool. Anyway, now another few features that they added to iTunes was if you basically control-click or right-click items in your library, there's a new apply sort field option where you can pick same album, same artist. iTunes will prompt you whenever to change the sort field. It's just really cool sorting feature. Basically adds more to the kind of creating your own custom-made playlist and custom-made library. And then there's also a new Apple TV help option, which Apple TV, like we said last week, has been a little bit delayed, but hopefully it's going to come out soon. So we're hoping on that. I want to get myself an Apple TV. It's going to cost about $300, but still, I would like one.
I'm hoping to write that off as an expense for school.
Me too.
Somehow, some way.
Yeah. Now, speaking of the iTunes new update and Apple TV, remember we mentioned about a couple episodes ago that, or at least I mentioned that there might be in Canada, the TV shows and movies that are in iTunes Store might be coming to Canada in June.
Yes, I do recall. I think that was episode 3 we mentioned that?
I think so.
Our Halo episode?
I can't remember. It was early on.
Yeah,
but
in the beginning,
we've been here for about a month, dude. A month and 1 week.
So yeah, folks, last week was our 1 month anniversary, and you know what? No one bought me flowers, but someone bought me chocolate. I don't know why.
No one bought me flowers either.
It's because you're you.
Yeah.
But hey, what can I say? You are the epic avalanche now, folks. Snowball has been upgraded. He was originally a flurry. Now he is a snowstorm of power. He's an avalanche. He's my hero, folks. Truly he is.
Yeah.
A man to look up to.
Yeah.
You just see the look on his face, guys. It's great. Anyway, moving on.
Speaking of... No. All right, going back to iTunes.
Yeah.
Okay, so supposedly... And there's a new thing that there was kind of leaked, or that not necessarily leaked, but someone pointing out something interesting in the iTunes 7.1. Specifically, if you navigate to the Personal tab, you'll see several countries listed in an option for Ratings 4, which is for the Apple, or which is for TV shows and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that Ratings 4 are including the countries Ireland, New Zealand, Australia, the UK, the US, and Canada.
I only recognize Peoria as a country. It's a Family Guy. It's a Family Guy reference. You TV
yes, okay, all right.
You TV illiterate.
No, it took me a sec.
Yeah,
she
sure
mentioned Family Guy. I got it.
See, there you go. Anyway, folks, that's my co-host.
So
right
anyway, hopefully, there's actually a screenshot. We have it from Lincoln. This is from TV Squad. So we have a small little screenshot, and actually is showing the list of Ratings 4. So hopefully, perhaps we're hoping that the iTunes will definitely add movies and TV shows soon. I want one. I want it. I want to buy shows.
See, I'm very curious to actually buy shows. I mean, it's one thing if you miss a show on TV and you download it, because, like honestly, I've missed episodes of 24 by like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And I just want to see the first 5 minutes. So like, okay, cool. I'm now caught up. I can download that during like a commercial break.
Yeah, exactly.
Sort of thing like that.
And it's cheap too. I mean, it's only $2. $2 an episode, and you're looking at about, I don't know, it's like depending on the series or depending on the season, it's like usually ranging from like $30 to $50 for a season.
Now, the only thing I'd like to see iTunes integrate, honestly, is PayPal. Because PayPal and BidPay and all that stuff seem to be the currency of the internet. Now, obviously, credit cards are to be trusted, but since you can integrate credit cards with PayPal, I'd like to see that option be offered. And I think someone really at Apple needs to pay attention to that because eBay deals with PayPal almost exclusively.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't mind iTunes using my credit card. It works fine for me. I've never had a bad experience with iTunes Store, and I know there's a lot of people out there that have had their music lost and there's nothing they could be able to do. Now there is a way. Technically, if you call up the Apple customer service, they can technically give you access to get those songs back. So,
how does that work?
But you have to kind of specifically, somewhat ask. So you have to say like you lost all your music that you purchased off iTunes, and they do have kind of their own little Jedi ways to be able to get give you access to it.
Yeah, because that's something I always wondered. That's one of the things why I don't buy music unless I have a hard copy in my hand. It's like, if I lose this, if my computer gets formatted, what am I going to do?
Well, that's why the biggest thing you can do in computers is back up. So,
a phrase that's well known with me, folks. Trust me on that one.
Yes, so my computer recently crashed, my PC, and it sucked.
Yeah, honestly, I had my Maxtor FireWire hard drive almost fail on me, folks. If you've ever seen me cry, to see a fat man weep is something truly, truly sad. When my FireWire drive almost died, tears, man.
Oh, geez, my computer, even worse, okay? I had a power spike going through my PC.
Yeah.
And we're talking about everything dead. We're talking power supply, motherboard, processor, one of the hard drives, a DVD drive, the RAM, all dead.
So your computer basically committed Harry Carey.
Pretty much.
Wow, that sucks.
Yeah, and a lot of my stuff that I had on there was somewhat backed up and somewhat wasn't.
Yeah.
So I lost several major projects that I liked to have to keep. Because whenever I make like audio projects stuff like that, I usually like to keep them around as like we do in radio. Like we're told that you never know when you're going to use them again or edit them again. So I lost quite a bit of that, and I was not happy.
Yeah, like our teacher, Chris Generette and Jack Priftis, have always said back up.
Yep.
And it's a philosophy. Trust me, folks, if you deal exclusively in any kind of digital media, a backup is what you obviously need. And you want to have like a FireWire hard drive, USB 2.0, or even just have a flash drive. Actually, I'm using my iPod right now. I've actually got projects backed up there from my film teacher, David Niven's class, backed up on my iPod. And if I didn't have that, I would be pooched.
Yeah, for me, I mean, it's even worse because the thing is, it kind of sucks because no one really would go do backups unless something bad happens. That's generally the time when people start to really back up when something actually happens. Because technically, I've had my computer, the one that crashed, for about 4 years, no problems whatsoever, and all of a sudden it just got a power spike.
I tend to lose my computer about once every couple months. I've even had problems with my MacBook Pro. I had the format.
I don't mind formatting, but I usually will back up beforehand, and I've never had a problem where I've had to basically, because I've screwed up the computer so royally that I've had to format and lose a lot of data. Although I was close to losing a lot of my documents here on my iBook. I accidentally deleted it into the trash and removed the trash. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, folks, to see him panic like that, I've seen the albino guy go whiter than that. Like, you pulled a Casper.
I was scared stiff.
Oh, I know.
I mean, you know what? I don't condone piracy in any way, but thank God for backup software you can find on the internet. Because honestly, if it wasn't for stuff like that, I would be up a creek without a paddle. And yeah, I did not have like $200 to pay for like a backup software program.
But obviously, that's what you're going to do because that's what.
Oh yes, of course. Now that I know that it works, that is pretty much next on my list as far as priorities is concerned.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, that's we just went into a giant rat hole, and yeah, to bring us back. One last story we got is Star Trek is now meeting the U.S. Navy.
Really? So what? We're gonna have phasers, concussion rifles, what?
You were close, actually. Phasers. They are looking into weapons that will basically stun people.
Will mine look like a Braun Mixmaster, like the Star Trek TNG phasers?
I don't know. It's in development. They're looking into it. It's in development. Basically, what they're trying to do is basically create a device that creates an intense radio frequency emissions. Yeah, technical terms, but capable of passing through walls would be used to temporarily disrupt the balance and coordination functions of targets' inner ears, knocking them down relatively harmlessly.
Speaking of harmlessly, we're going to take a little bit of a break here with our phasers, and we'll be right back here on 90.1, the new Heat FM, so stay tuned to This Week in Geek.
Take an audio trip every Thursday from 8 to 9 p.m. with us, Mark Gabbard,
and me,
Alex Haldane, as we take a look at musicians past and present.
We'll uncover lost demos, rarities, duets, and just the plain obscure. Listen for Radio Obscura on 90.1 FM, The New Heat, Niagara's hottest mix, every Thursday.
Listen online at niagarac.on.ca. Don't worry, it's probably not the only time your boss has caught you using your computer for things other than work. Dude, check out this guy dancing on his computer.
Bentley, get back to work.
90.1 FM, The New Heat, Niagara's hottest mix.
And Freddie Mercury said it best. Here we are back on This Week in Geek here on 90.1 The New Heat FM. I am, of course, Mike the Birdman Dodd. Sitting in with me, of course, is my intrepid co-host and PK.
I'm Steve Snowball Sailor.
Folks, you should hear his impression of Bobby from Bobby's World. It'll seriously blow your mind and make a childhood icon. No, man, I'm sorry. You've already turned Bobby into a serial killer. I think I'm good for now.
I could be nice. I could be nice, Bobby. I could turn to nice, Bobby.
He lies, folks. Anyway, we got one more piece of news here for you, which you may or may not have heard of if you were watching Heroes this week.
Which I was. Twice. On Sunday and Monday, which is great in Canada because they all watch Heroes on Sunday nights.
Yay. There was a new exclusive Spider-Man 3 clip released.
Yes, and I saw it today. I unfortunately did not catch it because the global feed did not pick up the Spider-Man 3. But in the States on NBC, they had an exclusive look into a new scene into Spider-Man 3, and so I saw it on Mike's computer. He downloaded it, and it is great.
It was very cool. I actually picked it up off of AintItCoolNews.com.
Yep.
I just happened to be awake at that hour, and I saw a post and like Spider-Man 3 clip. I'll check it out. And it's this amazingly cool fight between Spider-Man and Harry Osborn as the pseudo new Green Goblin. I don't know if he calls himself the Green Goblin or the Hobgoblin, but he's basically sitting there kicking like ever-living crap.
Yeah,
Spider-Man.
Actually, well, technically Peter Parker because he's not even in his costume.
No, he's just beating this kid down, and I just couldn't believe. And just the fight choreography is they're whipping through the streets of New York, and it's like something that came right out of the pages of Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah, it was cool.
And as the clip goes on, they go into like a little bit of a montage right near the end.
Yeah,
and we see Venom.
For
the first time in high definition.
It's very quick. You have to be really watchful to see it, but it is there. Venom is there.
Oh man, I can't wait. I hope Venom really does himself justice. I'd like to see Venom almost get his own film franchise, kind of like how Elektra got her own out of Daredevil.
I don't know. I mean, with basically 3 Spider-Mans under Sam Raimi's belt. He's not one for spin-offs.
Actually, I was reading this today or last night. I'm not sure which, but yeah, Tobey Maguire said this is his last.
I hope not.
So do I. Honestly, just give him the mountain of money he wants, and let me see Spider-Man, man. Yeah. I mean, come on.
I mean, he cannot make another Spider-Man movie without Tobey Maguire now.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it would be like replacing Luke Skywalker with like Samuel L. Jackson.
That'd be funny, though.
That would be. I mean, just to hear him...
awesome!
Just to deliver it with the same energy that he did Snakes on a Plane. I'm sick of these snakes on this Death Star, and I'll let you guys fill in the blanks there. I'm sick of these Jawas.
I'm sick of these Jawas on this Death Star.
So anyway, folks...
That's a great parody right there. Jawas on a Death Star.
I don't know. I was actually on blanksonablank.com, and my favorite one is Bears on a Hovercraft.
There was someone that said that it was like
pandas
on a shuttlecraft
or badgers on a space
shuttle. Yep.
Thank you, Double D. That's our friend David Dennis, another fellow student in the BRTF program here at Niagara College,
who sounds remarkably like Scott Mosier.
He does. He's like a more toned down version of Scott Mosier.
Yeah.
But, that's our friend. So in case you're just joining us, folks, it's currently 5 p.m. here in Welland, Ontario, Canada. Really? It's actually not too bad outside. I'm not sure what the temperature is, mostly because I'm not outside. So, it's 5 p.m. So you're listening to us on CRNC 90.1, the new Heat FM.
And those listening on the podcast, you probably don't really care about that, except for the fact that it's 90.1 FM, the new Heat, and you should be listening.
Exactly. You should listen to us live. Yeah. But actually, speaking of this, just before we get into our main topic here of Saturday morning cartoons, we have to send out a couple of shout-outs.
Really?
Yes, actually. Cool. A friend of mine named Mike Tweedy, I've not talked to in absolute years, found us on the This Week in Geek Facebook account.
Really?
Yeah, exactly. So I was amazed just to see all these cool people. And actually, what I'm going to suggest here, my intrepid co-host Snowball, is we do a web show at some point, like the best of the web. We got to mention Facebook and MySpace.
Yeah, that sounds cool. I can do that.
But yeah, so we want to send a shout out to Mike Tweedy, Christy from last night, one of our hopefully new listeners. So I hope you're listening right now. So hello.
Hello.
And, of course, you remember Snowball. And anyway, we're going to drop right into our topic now, folks. So, okay, I'm an older gentleman. I'm going to admit this. And we basically, I know you're only 2 years older. But anyway, I grew up in the golden era of cartoons. Now, I'm talking the Filmation, the Sunbow, the classic animations of the day. And that's what we're going to talk about, folks. For some of those who want a little taste of nostalgia.
Because Saturday morning cartoons, I mean, nothing's better than waking up in the morning in your little Star Wars PJs, or running downstairs, or being very quiet while your parents are still sleeping at early, like 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, and turning on the boob tube and watching your favorite cartoons.
With a big bowl of cereal, a couple of select toys out in front of you.
And you know what that cereal is? Captain Crunch.
Oh, yeah, Captain Crunch.
Captain Crunch, baby.
Or way back in the day when we had cool stuff like Cookie Crisp. Do you remember Cookie Crisp?
I love Cookie Crisp.
So I'm hoping.
Oh, and Trix.
Oh, and Trix.
You never see Trix anymore. It's not in Canada.
Yeah, I noticed that. Actually,
it's only in the U.S.
Yeah, it's so weird. The United States actually gets a lot of really cool cereals.
Yeah, but they don't get ketchup chips.
That's so strange. I mean, look at the weird stuff they get and we don't. So I'm going to have to talk to
Smarties or something else, too.
Yeah, Smarties. Actually, one of our friends, Pierce from Punk the Dial, also here on 90.1, the new Heat FM, was mentioning he'd never seen Smarties before. So, you know what?
No, see, what they think of Smarties is technically those, what we call candy rockets.
Yeah.
And what we think of Smarties is basically another version of M&M's.
Yeah, so it's weird. I mean, you see the differences in the cultures there, which is obviously, you even see differences in Saturday morning TV in Canada and in the States, specifically when it comes to the aspect of simulcasting.
Yeah.
When it comes to that, which is signal substitution. Because one thing that we've noticed here in Canada, or at least I picked up on when I was extremely young, is that Global TV is a Fox simulcaster when it comes to the Saturday morning. Or this was way back in the day anyway.
Yeah.
You get a lot of the old cartoons. You get
was it really called Global at that point?
Yeah.
I thought it was like CH11 or something.
No,
like that.
that was always the.
That's the Hamilton's. That's right. Okay.
I was watching it directly out of Toronto on Channel 6.
Right. Okay.
But anyway, folks. So yeah, I've been doing research doing this, and one of the things I wanted to bring up was the rise of Saturday morning TV. I'm talking the glory days, the 1980s.
Yep.
The early 1990s.
Oh, yeah.
And then what's happened recently. Now, I'm obviously a big fan of Japanese animation. I thoroughly enjoy it.
I'm not. I just never. I've tried. Honestly, I've tried so hard to be able to try to get myself into Japanese anime or manga, whatever. I just can't seem to get into it. And I've tried some of the good stuff. I've tried. I've tried. I just can't seem to get into Japanese anime.
It's because you're not seeing the really serious stuff. You're seeing a lot of the Saturday morning Americanized stuff. Now,
I would never watch Pokemon or Digimon or anything like that because I can't stand those.
Truthfully, I did like Pokemon when it first came out.
No, I just don't like it.
But that's way forward in the future.
Yeah.
So what we're going to talk about is during the 1950s and 60s, advertisers realized, you know what, we can make a lot of money off kids.
Yeah.
And no one wanted to program in the early Saturday morning slots, which was from, like, say, 6 a.m. till about noon.
Which is a great time for kids to wake up.
Exactly. I mean, kids are out of school. Yep. They're not doing anything.
And they don't know the value of sleeping in yet.
Yeah. Or, most baseball practices or hockey practices haven't started yet.
Yep.
Depending on the time of the year, because I found the best time for Saturday morning TV is obviously during the regular season, which was September till about June.
Yep.
You get the new stuff, but even reruns during the summer. They
would do
specials.
syndication. Yeah.
So anyway, advertisers realized, hey, let's make some money on these things, and they started pumping out stuff. So we got stuff like the original Spider-Man cartoon, Astro Boy.
Oh yes.
I mean, I don't know. Like, I'd actually like to poll our listeners and know how many people have actually seen the original Astro Boy, not the one you saw that was in syndication years later, because the original one was in black and white.
Really?
Yeah, it was weird. My friend Sean Shepard has it. I haven't myself had a chance to watch any of them, but I've seen screen captures, and it's so different.
Wow. Okay.
And just to see the cartoons evolve over time. I mean, you had the original Hanna-Barbera, which was like Huckleberry Hound, Snagglepuss, Yogi Bear, and all those. And
they're the ones who did like the Flintstones, Jetsons.
Yeah.
Those are great Saturday morning cartoons.
Yeah, and it was amazing just to see how cartoons could reach the masses of kids and how many of these cartoons are ingrained into a lot of our parents' memories. And how they remember this. And so advertisers started to get sway with these, and cartoons progressively got better. They weren't just, hey, let's throw some colorful characters and a stupid laugh track. They became viable sources of income for advertisers because they realized they could target toys at them. They could target cereals at them, food, snacks, whatever.
The entire Transformers series was based off a toy line.
Yeah, which was the Takara Diaclone line.
Yeah, it was the only reason why they had the show was to sell the toys.
Yeah. It was a rebrand. Actually, when we get to our 1980s segment, which will be after our next break in about 5 minutes or so, I'll go into a little bit of the Transformers history, and you'll see just how much things have changed, especially when it came to the era of toy commercials, and when it came to movies that were designed to sell toys, like My Little Pony, G.I. Joe, and Transformers the movie, which you don't see a lot of the commercialized design movies to sell toys. I mean, even when the Pokemon movie was translated from the original Japanese version, it was not originally designed to sell toys. And there was actually an interesting difference in the versions.
Really?
Yeah, actually, the original Japanese version was a lot darker. And it was actually cinematically scored, not pop music put over.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
That's one thing I can't stand is pop music like that, especially on a show. I don't know. I still have. I don't know. Maybe I just watched a really bad episode of Pokemon, but I just can't get into it. It just did not. I did not like Pokemon whatsoever.
So there was this lobby group in the 1970s and late 60s that actually started to get a little bit of power. So they started to change the advertisers to stop steering cartoons as toy vehicles. And that was called the Action for Children's Television, right? And they basically started to get enough influence by the 70s that they could say, hey, I want you guys to start checking what social attitude you're portraying. For example, like Fat Albert in The Cosby Kids, which was actually nominated for like an Emmy Award several times, I believe.
Dude, I loved watching Fat Albert.
Truthfully, I've never seen a full episode.
Really?
I'd never.
Oh, it was great because then Bill Cosby would keep coming in and do like these special like kind of morals for kids, like tell little morals for kids stories, and he would. I think he even did. I think it was a segment on Captain Kangaroo that he would go in and he had these kind of sheets on this kind of board, and he would just go into like he would teach kids like like cool values like sharing and stuff like that, and then he would go into a Fat Albert cartoon.
Yeah, and it was because of these. It was because of this lobby group that cartoons became more educational as moral vehicles as well, and they laid down more content rules for the animation houses and even live action shows like HR Puffin stuff like that. And Saturday morning became more in its own. Like we remember a lot of the cartoons and live action shows from the late 70s going into the 80s were a lot of moral tales. I mean, like you were saying, Captain Kangaroo, Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids, and HR Puffin stuff, and like even stuff like Romper Room, Sesame Street.
Pokeroo. Well, yeah, Pokeroo.
Yeah, which, folks, if you know
or Polka Dot Door. That's what's called. Polka Dot Door.
If you know what the Pokeroo is, please email us at feedback@thisweekingeek.net.
We have no idea what it is. We think it's a government experiment gone wrong.
It does make sense. I mean, honestly. Got loose. Yeah, I mean, it's sort of like Mulder's Alien.
Yeah.
So anyway, folks, that's...
The truth is out there.
The truth is... Oh, God. The truth is absolutely out there. So... cartoons started to change. So eventually the 80s appeared, and that's when I consider the golden era of the cartoon. So we had CBS, NBC, ABC, and then much later on we'd have Fox.
Yep.
And NBC had cartoons like the Smurfs, Alvin and the Chipmunks.
Oh, Alvin and the Chipmunks.
They actually did the Star Trek animated series when that originally came out.
I remember that. Actually, you can buy those on DVD now.
Yeah, I know. Actually, a friend of mine named Andrew actually is going to loan them to me at some point when I ask him.
Apparently, they were able to add aliens, like far better aliens, into the animated series that they couldn't on the original show, just because they couldn't create those kind of aliens on the show.
Exactly. I mean, they didn't have the makeup special effects in order to create those images.
Yep.
Right? So it was more or less like that, and I was just really impressed that, the animation could actually push forward the story of Star Trek. Unfortunately, a lot of the animated stuff is not considered to be canon, as far as I understand anyway.
No, it's not.
So NBC would show that. They'd show the Flintstones and the Jetsons, which are obviously pioneers by Hanna-Barbera.
Yep.
And they also would show stuff. Actually, NBC, most notably in the 1980s, brought us Saved by the Bell.
Oh, Saved by the Bell.
And, who doesn't remember Mark Paul Gosselaar as Zach Morris, Elizabeth Berkley as Jesse Spano, Lark Voorhees as, what was the character's name? Lisa Turtle.
Lisa Turtle, yeah.
And Dustin Diamond, Screech.
Oh, and,
which evidently he's a jerk.
Who played AC Slater?
AC Slater was Mario Lopez.
Mario Lopez, that's right.
So, yeah, that's the kind of interesting stuff that NBC brought out, which more or less invented the teen drama, which I think, or the teen dramedy, as I would call it, which I would say more or less led to the invention of shows like Beverly Hills 90210, which would later involve Dawson's Creek, The OC, and things like that. And it's phenomenal to see how a Saturday morning cartoon show can influence so much stuff.
Yeah.
So we're going to take a short break, folks. We're going to come right back here, and we're going to continue our talk about Saturday morning cartoons. So please stay tuned. Grab your bowl of cereal, because, hey, it's dinner hour. Sit down, have a bowl of Frosted Flakes with us. Captain Crunch with us. So please, folks, stay tuned here to 90.1, the New Heat FM.
When you need that break from studying, let Niagara's hottest mix be your friend. We'll be here playing all the best in rock whenever you need it. 90.1 FM, the New Heat, Niagara's hottest mix.
It's back, the third annual Greg Darling Ball Hockey Tournament presented by 90.1 FM The New Heat and Ball Hockey International. The ball drops on March 17th at BHI here at Niagara College. Sign your team up today, but hurry, the deadline to register is March 2nd and space is limited. Contact Adam at salesandpromotions_90.1 at hotmail.com for info. The third annual Greg Darling Ball Hockey Tournament presented by BHI and 90.1 FM The New Heat.
Folks, we're back here on 90.1 the New Heat FM. You're, of course, listening to This Week in Geek. I am Mike the Birdman Dodd.
And I'm Steve Snapping Snowball Sailor.
Hey, you hear that, Pierce? For once, it's not me. So we are talking this afternoon about Saturday morning cartoons, the rise and fall of the animated empire.
Yes.
And when we last left you from break, we were talking about NBC and their great contributions to the animated realm, and more specifically, we were just talking about Saved by the Bell.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, there is so much. Actually, we could almost even do a show exclusively on Saved by the Bell, because there's so much morality and lessons in that show, which honestly, I think a lot of the kids today can still really, actually a lot of kids still watch Saved by the Bell. Like, for example, we're joined in the fishbowl today by Craig Atkinson, our technical director, and Leslie Smith, our TWIG groupie. And, you know, like, you guys have memories of Saved by the Bell. I mean, we all remember coming home, either watching it on Saturday morning or watching it perhaps on Monday or Tuesday afternoon, depending on the current station schedule.
Yep.
And we would watch this sort of thing, and it would just be amazing.
It was cool.
Yeah,
I love this. I love Saved by the Bell.
It was funny. And so other notable things, actually NBC, I would almost consider the marketing whore of the 1980s. And this is specifically what I mean by...
call them a marketing whore?
It's more specifically, if you look at their partnership with Nintendo.
True.
There was a show on NBC called Captain N, the Game Master, which is basically a Nintendo vehicle, which basically featured a character named Kevin, who was sucked into Videoland, and he had a Nintendo controller as a belt buckle, which I'm pretty sure our friend Pierce from Punk the Dial has. I'm not sure.
The belt or the actual controller?
The belt. I'm pretty sure.
Wow, I gotta get me one of those.
It's pretty cool, actually.
Nice.
So anyway, he would have this controller belt. He could start and stop time, select it, sort of thing. He had a Nintendo zapper, and he'd go to different game worlds like Castlevania, Kid Icarus, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out at that time. Mario, and introduce a character called Game Boy, who was essentially a walking Game Boy. Not like the Nintendo DS's. In fact, I'm pretty sure a good chunk of you have not actually seen an original Game Boy on
it was a big behemoth of a thing.
The monochrome screen with 4 colors.
And the only best game that ever is and ever will be on the Game Boy is Tetris.
Exactly. But there's also stuff like Mario and Wario and Kirby's Pinball and stuff like that. So yeah, this was the grandfather, and actually the Nintendo Game Boy actually beat out the Sega Game Gear at that time, the TurboGrafx 16 handheld at that time, because the Game Boy was always more accessible and wasn't a battery killer.
That's true. Because it only had that's one of the good features of the Game Boy was the fact Nintendo, they designed it to have more battery life. And a lot of other competitors tried to basically make it the Game Boy, or make something similar to the Game Boy. Like they tried adding color screens and like better graphics, and
TV tuners.
Yeah, and it didn't work because either the battery life sucked, or the game sucked, or they weren't able to pull off the graphics that they wanted to, and a lot of people kept still going after the Game Boy.
So NBC also had other shows like Super Mario World, which was the sequel, quote unquote, to the New Adventures of Super Mario Bros. 3, which when Super Mario Bros. 3 originally came out, there was actually a marketing movie that came out about that time with Fred Savage called The Wizard. Do you remember The Wizard, where they showcased the Power Glove in Mario 3? It's just singing, folks. Vaguely. So yeah, it was this was NBC and Nintendo. They were the marketing giants at the time, and honestly, their animation houses produced superior animation because some of their shows they used to feature were the Gummy Bears. So this was before the Disney merger of ABC, because Gummy Bears is a Disney property.
Yep.
They also had Land of the Lost, which you may have heard of or have heard people. It's where they basically went back in time. There was dinosaurs.
Yeah.
I don't remember a lot of it. There was also She-Ra, the Princess of Power, who was He-Man's twin sister.
I actually have a friend on my blog who's one of my neighbors. Actually, if you go to my blog, there's a link to it on our website, to our Vox blogs, and mine is stevesaylor.vox.com. And one of my neighbors on there, her name is Tristan. She loved She-Ra. She actually she ordered the DVD box set of that, and she freaked out when she actually received it. She just could not stop talking about it. She could not stop freaking out. Like, she was literally screaming at the top of her lungs that she loved watching She-Ra.
And actually, it was amazing.
So hi, Kristen.
So She-Ra was produced by the Filmation Animation House, and some of their stuff was actually fairly impressive. However, they were really bad for reusing background and using repeat frames of animation.
Yeah, you see that a lot. There was a lot of stuff, even like in the Flintstones and Jetsons, you always saw like the continuing, like the repeating background whenever they're walking. There's limitations of animation, and at least trying to be able to create like an episode for an episode a week, because there was a lot of episodes that it was created for the Saturday morning cartoon. So
exactly. So that was NBC's lineup. A next comparable lineup, which had a lot of classics in it as well, was the ABC network, and they had The Real Ghostbusters. Now there actually is a story as to why it's called The Real Ghostbusters.
Why'd you call it The Real Ghostbusters?
Filmation back in the 80s had a Ghostbusters cartoon which featured 3 men and a giant ape fighting. And there was a guy, the bad guy was called Master Fear or Mr. Fear, who looked like kind of like a cyborg Skeletor sort of thing, and they would fight him in this talking car. So when Columbia...
So Knight Rider meets Ghostbusters.
Pretty much.
With an ape.
So when Columbia came along and started to produce the cartoon, they were thinking, well, we need the copyright, so we'll just call this The Real Ghostbusters. which I always wondered why that happened when I was a kid too. So that show ran from 86 to 91.
Yep.
So it ran more or less until the end.
The only reason why I actually kind of got into that show, because I only saw like bits and pieces of the actual Ghostbusters movie at that point.
Yeah.
But the only reason why I tuned into it was because one of the characters on the show, the guy who did the voice was the same voice as Garfield.
Yes. I can't remember
his name.
But yeah, actually, you'd be surprised how many famous voices were actually on Saturday morning TV. Actually, when I get a chance I'll talk to this probably in our last break about some of the famous voices. Like there was actually... I'll just talk about it now. Some of the famous voices on Saturday morning TV, there was like Scatman Carruthers, who was most memorable from the Transformers cartoons as Jazz. Chris Latta, who was the original Cobra Commander from G.I. Joe, the original Mr. Burns from Simpsons.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
And Starscream.
What's his name? The guy who actually does the voice of Mr. Burns now. He didn't come on until later.
I don't know. I don't know offhand.
No, I'll give me a minute. I'll think of it.
Yeah. So it was just amazing how many famous voices have now passed away, unfortunately.
Harry Shearer. That's it.
Harry Shearer. But yeah, Chris Latta died, unfortunately, due to a suicide, I think. And Scatman Carruthers just passed away.
That sucks.
It does, and there's so many famous voices back in the day, and now some of those iconic voices are coming back, more specifically with the new Transformers movie. I think Peter Cullen, the original Optimus Prime, has been recast in his original role, so he's coming back. I think Frank Welker, who did a lot of Saturday morning cartoons, you'd be very surprised.
Yeah.
And he's coming back as Megatron, we think.
Sweet.
So, yeah, it's stuff like that. You'd just be amazed. And another thing ABC had going for them, they had Sonic the Hedgehog, who was actually originally voiced by Jaleel White. That's right,
yes,
Urkel.
I remember that. Steve Urkel.
Steve Urkel was originally a voice, if you can believe that, folks.
Yeah.
So,
you never hear what happened to Jaleel White anymore.
Actually, I will actually follow up on that right after the break. So, folks, we're going to take a little bit of a break here on This Week in Geek. Once again, you're listening to 90.1, the new Heat FM. So, stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Any size catches thieves just like flies. Look out, here comes the Spider-Man. Is he strong? Listen, buddy, he's got radioactive blood. Can he swing from a thread? Take a look overhead. Hey there goes the Spider-Man. In the chill.
The environment we live in needs to be preserved for our children. Whether you know it or not, littering or even driving when not necessary is destroying the ground we walk on and the air we breathe. Don't think about what the effects will have on tomorrow, but 10 years down the road. It doesn't take much to carpool or recycle, so do what you can to show support for the betterment of our environment. For more information on what you can do to help, visit www.c2p2online.com.
Sometimes you just gotta kick off your shoes and relax your socks. Just make sure you keep it locked to 90.1 FM, Niagara's hottest mix.
We definitely have to do a show about that.
Absolutely. In fact, we are trying to get guests from the show. So, folks, please get on me to email these people because I don't sleep as is, and I could always use more work.
He's been putting off excuses.
That's what he says. Anyway, folks, once again, I'm Mike the Birdman Dodd. You're joining us here on 90.1, the new Heat FM, and across the web via podcast, streaming, and once again, mental telepathy, because that's what we offer here at This Week in Geek.
Yep.
We're talking about the animated empire, the rise and fall of Saturday morning cartoons. We're just going to quickly go through some more of these so we can have some more time to actually discuss this. So ABC, which we were talking about just before the break here, we're talking about Jaleel White. Was the voice of the original Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yep.
And actually, as far as I know, still is in most of the Sega video games and most incarnations of the show.
Yep.
ABC also had the original Super Friends cartoon.
Yes.
Which, you know, was cheesy, but it was Superman, and it was Batman, and it was Aquaman.
Wonder Twins powers, activate!
What can I say? Aquaman, arguably the world's most useless superhero.
I don't know.
He talks to fish, dude. I'm sorry, I can't make that.
They just haven't found a really good use for him yet. Smallville they have somewhat.
Yeah, but that's a completely different universe. But anyway, another thing ABC also had going for it was actually had the original Star Wars cartoons, Ewoks and Droids.
Yes.
And they also had really bizarre shows, which Hammerman, which was MC Hammer's bizarre vehicle. Which
I remember watching that when I was a kid.
And it was so bad.
Yeah, him in his parachute pants.
But ABC can almost be blamed for the beginning of the end of true Saturday morning TV. They actually originally aired the original Digimon before Fox picked it up.
Yeah.
And that was just amazing. So... we're
just mocked them and complimented them in the same sentence.
I did, but hey, they gave me Sonic and Ghostbusters, so I can't slam them too bad for MC Hammer and Digimon.
True.
But the last great network of the original Saturday morning lineups was CBS, which earlier in this show we mentioned about Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids. They aired that for a really long time. They also ran the Flintstones from 1986 till 1995.
That's a long time for a series.
That's a very long time.
That's a lot of episodes.
They also had the classic Garfield show, which once again, Venkman was the voice of Garfield.
Ah.
So cool. Yeah, I mean, that's really neat. It kind of comes full circle. They also had the original Ninja Turtles, which ran from 1990 till 1996.
Turtles in a half shell.
Turtle power.
Turtle power.
In addition to that, they also ran Pee-wee's Playhouse from 1986 to 1981. Wow, just watching your levels modulate on that was fun.
Sorry. But I had to do it.
But that's okay, though. Actually, which 1991 was more or less the best year for the cartoons. That's when a lot of the shows were in their best strides for animation, the best strides in terms of storyline. But then things started to fall apart. That's when Saturday morning truly came to an end.
Yeah.
And Fox picked up the ball. Because ABC, CBS, and NBC decided to start carrying news programs due to the FCC mandating that there needs to be more educational programming on Saturday morning.
Really? Is that why?
Yeah, so they more or less just scrapped it and said, fine, we'll just put a Saturday edition of the Today Show on there.
Ow.
And that was the death knell for Saturday morning.
Ow.
So Fox came in with, probably a good chunk of the cartoons of the 90s. X-Men, Batman the Animated Series was originally on there. Man. Power Rangers, Spider-Man, Animaniacs.
Oh, yes.
That was all them. And and you could still tell that those shows were American influence. They still looked very American.
A lot of them still continue today, like the Batman series. Well, technically the same kind of animation.
It's
or at least
Batman Beyond.
It's Batman Beyond, but then they have the Justice League and the Justice League Unlimited, and they kind of expanded into that. So it's the same production studio. So that kind of franchise has somewhat gone further.
It's one of the few remaining ones, because you'll notice even Disney cartoons have now changed to this more Japanimation influence. I mean, look at Kim Possible, for example.
Oh yeah, that's definitely Japanese.
It's very, very, very.
It's very Americanized, stylized of Japanese anime.
Yeah. So Fox ushered in finished up the golden era of the 90s, and then killed it going in the 2000, along with the WB network, which started to run syndicated shows like Pokemon, Digimon, Beatamon, basically any Mon you can think of.
Yeah.
And it started to get really sad, and I said some of the best things we ever saw in the 90s were on Fox Kids. Like I said, I saw vivid memories of seeing Venom on Spider-Man, the animated series, and seeing Carnage, which admittedly they did have to tone him down.
Yeah.
But, what can I really do here? But, folks, we're honestly in the last minute of our show here.
That sucks.
So I want to thank everybody for listening to us, either across the web or on our podcast, or even listening to us here on 90.1, the New Heat FM. So my favorite cartoon, Steve, was always the Transformers.
Yep.
My Pet Monster.
Yep.
And I had a special thing for a program called Kid and Play, which is related to the House Party movies.
Yeah.
Kind of strange.
My favorites had to be, we never got a chance to talk about the old Disney cartoons, DuckTales, Darkwing Duck, Tailspin, Chippendales Rescue Rangers. Those were my favorite shows when I was a kid. And I had to say Batman animated series, by far the best. But Darkwing Duck and Tailspin has definitely a warm place in my heart.
Oh yeah, I was always a big fan of Darkwing Duck. I mean, I loved that show.
Sea Duck. Oh, I had that toy. I had the Sea Duck. I'm serious. I had the Sea Duck and the Thunderquack. I had battles, epic battles. On that bright and shiny note.
On that bright and shiny note, folks, we are going to be back here next week, and we're going to have a more exclusive DVD commentary. We just recorded a commentary for Back to the Future.
Yep, you'll see on that website sometime within the next few days.
So anyway, folks, we are
Steve Snowball Sailor.
And I am Mike the Birdman Dodd, signing off here for This Week in Geek. And remember, folks, live free or die hard. Stay tuned, folks.
With my spits? Sure do. In fact, that's the theme of our next show. So don't miss it.
Why is the program, like, freaking out? It's doing it again! This program... Communism! Freaking communism!
Can you count pi to 1,000 places? Wait, if you can, you're too much of a nerd.
They gave us a show and we so don't know what we're doing.
I don't know either.
You've been listening to This Week in Geek. Tune in next week where you'll hear Mike say,
I'm ad-libbing this as I go along. I'm just going to let it roll and I can edit out whatever I want, okay? I need to think.
So make sure to tune in next Wednesday at 4:30 p.m. on 90.1 FM The New Heat. Also make sure to visit our website at thisweekingeek.net for show notes, news, and updates about the show. Also make sure to add yourself to our MySpace page at myspace.com/thisweekingeek. If you'd like to send comments or feedback about the show, email us at feedback@thisweekingeek.net. That's it for us. We'll see you next week on This Week in Geek.
Exhilaration starts with the Lexus 3-day summer event. Right now, take advantage of 1.0% off lease and finance rates for rates as low as 0.9% on select Lexus models. Plus, we'll reward you with event credits of $1,000 for total credits of up to $5,000. The Lexus 3-day summer event only runs until this Saturday. Don't miss your opportunity to drive home a new Lexus. Book your test drive today. Some conditions apply.